This is the first rain we've had since Hurricane Ian rolled through. We desperately needed it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been about 2 weeks since Hurricane Ian rolled through, and I wanted to make a video about the 5 preps that I learned in the days leading up to the hurricane and then in the almost 2 weeks afterwards. And I learned a couple of things and I wanted to share them with you. I just want to say at the beginning that this video, while I'm fine, my house was fine, my property was fine, there were no issues where I live, there are a lot of people that are still in that rebuilding stage. They're demoing their house, they're going through all their belongings, trying to salvage what they can. There are a lot of people that are struggling still, and they will for many, many months, if not years, if forever. So this isn't meant to minimize what happened to them. It's just what I learned here at my house. I live about 8 miles from the shoreline, and I am not in any flood risk zone whatsoever. If the flood waters from the Gulf come to my house, we've got a bigger problem. So we're gonna head outside for prep number 1 that I learned.
This is my in-ground generator. We had it put in about a year ago. It will power the entire house, including the air conditionings. But when it senses that the power is cut, it takes a few seconds for it to fire up and the power is disrupted. So I need this one thing to help bridge the gap between power from the lines to the generator. One of the essential hurricane preps that I learned from Ian is to have a battery backup for my essential electronics, such as my computer or my modem that controls the TV. In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty minimal, but if I'm doing work on a computer and the modem and the power flickers before the generator comes on, the power will be disrupted and I will lose everything or the modem restarts. So having a battery backup is essential moving forward for prep in my house, and they're not that expensive. You can get cheaper ones on Amazon.
Being that I have a whole home generator, I don't have to worry about an extended period of time without power. After Hurricane Irma, we were without power for 10 days, and everything in the refrigerators and the freezers went bad, spoiled, had to be thrown out. And that was one of the main reasons why we got a generator. Another reason why is because we have a dog and we're really not going to evacuate. This house withstood the category 5, probably a 4 by the time it hit here. And even with this last one, Hurricane Ian, the winds were whipping around 100 miles an hour and everything did absolutely fine. So we have peace of mind that this house is built very well and we don't have to evacuate. But I don't want to have to rely on the supermarket for food. We have 2 refrigerators and 2 freezers, and the supermarkets beforehand were sold out of a lot of stuff, and the supermarkets afterwards were sold out of a lot of stuff. They couldn't get resupplies, or they didn't have a generator and everything went bad. There's a supermarket near me, and everything in the frozen section, everything in the refrigerated section, all the produce was gone. And then when I went to Publix a couple of days after the hurricane, they didn't have a lot of the meats and stuff. So for the next hurricane season, the next prep, or just in general, is I want to have more protein in the freezer. Just regular old chicken breast, regular old ground beef, maybe a couple of steaks or something. Probably not steaks, just your staples like ground beef, chicken. Just want to have more meat in the freezer so that I don't have to rely on going to the supermarket immediately before or after a natural disaster such as Hurricane Ian. Let's go on to prep number 3.
Prep number 3 is something that I actually forgot about initially, but remembered after the fact. I have a capless system here, so there is a door where the nozzle goes through, but there's actually another door a couple of inches inward. And when you use a gas can like this piece, this black piece, will rest on here, and that helps it flow better, but it won't actually engage that second door, and gas will just spill out. So you need a funnel in your car, truck, or whatever to bypass that second door. My truck, I remember they told me when they showed me where the jack was, but my truck actually comes with a funnel so that you can put this into your gas tank to help open both of those doors so that you can fill your tank with the gas cans and do it without spilling.
I have a 36-gallon gas tank, and with the additional gas cans that I have, I can probably get about 40 gallons of gas for my truck, and that'll get me back and forth to work numerous times. But what would happen if the hospital was closed? And we always kind of joke that when they add on surgeries at the end of the day, we'll say, no, we're closed. Well, because it doesn't happen. Like, you have to do the surgeries. People come in hospitals never close unless there's critical infrastructure damage, such as what happened to the hospital that I work at because the water supply was severely compromised. And they were only doing life and limb surgeries. They were only doing surgeries that would literally save your life. They were not doing any other surgeries. And they didn't know when the water would be back. They didn't know when the power would be restored and stuff like that. They were transferring patients out. They were evacuating patients to hospitals that had their facilities intact. So I've never really experienced that with healthcare. I've always been under the impression that hospitals never close. They're just open forever. And prep number 4 is to have 3 months worth of funds for all your bills. And this is like crunch time and stuff like that. Now, I was well prepared financially for this. I didn't have any issues. I wasn't anxious at all, but it's just something that I never experienced before. So having 3 months worth of bills saved up, and I know that's tough for a lot of people because of all the inflation, everything costs more these days, but if you live in an area where you are vulnerable to storms, where you can be disrupted, it's very important to have 3 months worth of funds to pay for all your bills, because guess what? You're gonna have to pay the bills no matter what. And then last but certainly not least is to follow the storm. I was following the storm before it was even a tropical storm. It was still a depression, and it was really forecasted to come straight up north, go over the western edge of Cuba, and we were never really outside of the cone of uncertainty. We were never far enough away from it that it would not hit us, like go through the Gulf and hit Texas or Louisiana or something. It was always like right there. And I think what happened was it was going to hit the Panhandle, and then it was started shifting south, and then everybody's like, all the newscasters and whatnot, the meteorologists, they were like, Tampa, 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 this thing is going to hit Tampa, 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 Tampa. And what happened in Fort Myers and stuff is people heard that it was going to Tampa, and they just stopped doing everything. In a previous video, like the gas lines on the Saturday before the storm were insane, and then on Sunday, it was like a regular Sunday morning because they were like, oh my God, this thing's gonna hit Tampa, we're gonna be fine. And it just kept shifting further and further south until it was Tuesday afternoon. We're still doing elective surgeries at a surgery center, and everybody was freaking out because they said, guess what? It's hitting here tomorrow. And we were getting alerts on our phones with mandatory evacuations in zone A and B and then C and stuff like that. And people were freaking out because they did not prepare for it. So my prep number 5 is to always follow the storm until you know for certain that it will not hit you. If it's still out in the ocean or the Gulf, it can be unpredictable. It slowed down and just turned to the south. So that's going to do it. Preps were battery power backup, more food in the freezer, funnel for your gas cans. Know where your funnel is if you have one of those no cap gas cans because it has the 2 doors. Have 3 months worth of funds to pay all your bills, and just have cash available because if the internet's down, these food trucks and whatnot, people only take cash. And number 5 is to follow the storm very, very closely. I did very well with the storm. Our house was far enough away from the shore that we did not have to worry about flooding. The wind was about 100 miles an hour here, sustained, and that was about 3 to 4 o'clock on Wednesday when it got pretty windy here. Other than that, we did not have much damage at all. Felt very, very fortunate to get away from it as we did. And we're starting to ramp back up with surgery because the water has been resolved. The water issue has been resolved. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope you learned something. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section below. We will see you in the next video.